Hello, I'm Yasari. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I painted this snowman and also how I used the negative painting technique and white gouache to paint snow. I'm going to use the wet on wet technique, and for that I applied water on the whole of the snowman except on the eyes and the nose. I'm starting with a very dilute cadmium yellow tea-like consistency and applying in only those areas which have a glow in the reference image. I'm using cadmium yellow mixed with neutral tint for the shadow area just below the hat. For the snowman's face and body, I'll be using basically two colors, French ultramarine blue and French ultramarine blue mixed with cadmium red, which creates a beautiful cool purple. Once again, I mixed some cadmium yellow with neutral tint to apply on the shadow areas just below the scarf and the buttons. And to create some darker shadows at the bottom of the snowman, I added the complementary color yellow to the purple mix to create a dark grey. The paper is still damp, so I'm using burnt umber milk-like consistency to apply on the scarf area. Before painting the hat, I applied water, carefully leaving dry the areas marked as snow. This will help me to use the negative painting technique to create snow sitting on the hat. I'm using a milk-like consistency of burnt umber as the first layer on the hat. On the snowman's right hand, I applied a little bit of cadmium yellow, very dilute, tea-like consistency, and then used a dilute burnt umber as the first layer and sepia as the shadow color on the hands. To paint the frills on the scarf, I'm using burnt umber thicker consistency, cream-like ratio, and applying it with my size 2 round brush. And once again using burnt umber milk-like ratio to paint the buttons. For the eyes, I'm going to use the wet and dry technique because it gives more control and I can save the white of the paper without having to use masking fluid. The pigments that I'm going to use are first burnt umber, very dilute, tea-like consistency, all over the eyes except on the small area marked as highlight. Then I used a thicker consistency of sepia, cream-like consistency. First I laid down the paint around the border of the eyes and then used my brush to gradually bring the paint in, focusing mainly on the area above and below the highlight and on the left side of the eyes to create maximum contrast. For the nose, I'm going to use wet and wet technique as well and cadmium red as the base color. So I applied water on the nose area first and then took a dilute consistency of cadmium red and applied it all over the area. Then I took a mixture of cadmium red with French ultramarine blue, very thick consistency, cream-like, and placed it at the base of the nose and used my brush to spread it. Now for the second layer on the nose, I mixed cadmium yellow and cadmium red to create a warm orange and applied it on the upper part of the nose. And for the lower part of the nose, I used the purple mixture of cadmium red with French ultramarine blue. Once the painting was completely dry, I'm applying water on the top part of the background. I'll be using 3 pigments for the background: French ultramarine blue, cadmium yellow, and a new pigment in this painting, Payne's Grey. This is all wet on wet. The only thing we have to remember in this part of the painting is to leave unpainted the area right on the top of the hat. Thanks to negative painting, this area then emerges as snow sitting on the hat. For this part of the snow, I'm going to use white gouache. I'm using my brush directly to paint the larger snowflakes. In order to be able to splatter white gouache on the background, you need it to be more diluted. So I added some more water and then used the help of another brush to splatter gouache all over the background. I did not cover the snowman because I wanted some snowflakes to fall on him as well. For the snow on the ground, I'll be using a mixture of French ultramarine blue with cadmium red, French ultramarine blue alone, and also cadmium yellow to create the reflection of the glow on the snow. And here's the finished painting. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial. Bye for now.